I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, I'm the leader, I got all the answers. And then you got answers for everybody but yourself. And oftentimes we are holding on to those clients, we are holding on to those friends, we are holding on to those people that we want to help so that we don't have to tell ourselves that we don't have to do that. Right. And my therapist said, I also got a word in therapy, Dr. Minesha. It wasn't as eloquent. My therapist just told me one day, one session a couple years ago, Causha, you know that there's no prize for taking the most shit. And I was like, you know what? You're right.
Welcome to the Osumaré Learning Podcast, where genius is celebrated, joy is the catalyst, and we learn most deeply by teaching what lights us up. I'm Portia Osumaré, executive learning producer, curriculum designer, and former high school math teacher, and lover of all things wisdom.
And I'm Portia Michele Osumaré, client experience designer, business coach, joy strategist, and a lifelong learner of the sacred and the strategic. Together, we're excavating wisdom from our brightest and most brilliant friends and partners, gaining insight that transform how we learn and how we teach in today's world.
So join us as we offer insights, community wisdom, and unique perspectives on experiential learning. So welcome to the show.
Hello, and welcome to the Osumaré Learning Podcast. My name is Portia Michele Osumaré. We got producer Portia Osumaré in the house holding us down. And welcome to the State of 2026 Leadership Podcast. This is in our series where we are going over each area of business and talking about 2026 being an incredibly pivotal year for a lot of us, coming after 2025, which was definitely a game changer for most of the people that I talked to. Coming into 2026, really starting a new cycle, starting a new year. We're spending a lot of time talking about what we're seeing and what we are wanting to have folks prepare for their 2026 conversation. And I have got my crew with me as we are all inside of the Business Cousin Support Squad community. I have brought the leadership squad here with Dr. Minesha, with Renisha O'Donnell, with Causha A Spellman-Timmons. These are the folks that I go to have conversations about how we lead. And these are the folks who are hosting office hours in community. And today we're going to sit and we're going to talk about kind of what we're wanting you all to be thinking about as you're coming into 2026, prepared to lead your businesses well. And again, this is my crew. I'm so stoked that I have everybody in the leadership crew. To get to have everybody together. So rare we're all in one place to kind of talk about things. But today's conversation, we're each going to give you a little bit about what we're thinking and, a little something to come bring us in office hours when we know you're going to have questions about that. So let's see, I'm seeing chat. Okay. With that being said, let me define leadership for us. So when we're looking at all of the areas of business, leadership is one of those that I always say soul work goes first and then leadership goes immediately second, because it grounds every other decision. How you show up to the business oftentimes is dictated by the leadership area of your business. And so I say the leadership of your area of your business, I'm talking about almost twofold, right? It is the decisions that you make for the business as the leader. So whatever leadership role it is that you have in your business, what decisions you are going to make about the what you are doing, that is what happens in the leadership area of business. Operations may give you a bit of the how. Leadership is what's giving us the what. It is the gold star. It is the, what do we call that? Lord, I done lost it. What do you call that? Lighthouse. It's the lighthouse conversation, right? It is what is pulling you forward in the business, but it is also who you're going to be about it. We all know that the outcomes that you want in your life and your business all are going to be dictated by who you show up as every day to make those decisions. So the leadership area of your business also houses how you be about your business, how you customize it for you, and how you make sure that you're in the business and it's actually going to be suited toward what makes sense for you, your contribution, and your resources, and how the business needs to be formed around that. So many of us, if you've ever heard the end of my voice and you're in our community, we're always having conversations about customizing your business around you, what you need, and your contribution. And the only way you're going to do that is by making decisions that are congruent with that. That is really what we do in the leadership area of business. And that is what these amazing folks help our community to be able to kind of grapple with. and how to actually do it on the ground and in real life to make sure that it's happening in a way that you feel aligned with. So that is the frame of the conversation that we're going to have today. And we're going to go round robin, and each person's going to let us know kind of some themes that they're seeing in leadership right now for 2026 and some things that they may want you to be thinking about for 2026. We may even get a little do's and don'ts up in there, like watch your mouth or do this instead. But that is what's on the docket for today. I am actually going to start us off with Dr. Minesha. Dr. Minesha, one, I'm so glad to have you here. Hello and hello.
It's such an honor to be here. Anytime I'm in your space, it's lovely.
The same is said this way around. I would love to know from you. Because you've been on the ground, and I know you've been having all of the conversations, particularly with our parent leaders and all of these, the realities of what 2025 has brought for us. What are you seeing as some themes for 2026 that you want us to be thinking about?
Oh my goodness. I would say the biggest, it's almost like feeling. There's more than seeing. It's like this energy of momentum happening in 2026. It's like, get in where you fit in, So if I had to think about just like a big idea, it would be massive action, right? And not in a way where it's like how we were used to, running around like a chicken with her head cut off, trying to do this and be all things to all people. No, not that kind of massive action. I'm talking about this contrast, this dance between internally anchored, but then externally executing at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And anchored in this sense of like your principles, your standards, your values, your vision, like anchoring in that and really causing yourself to move in this rhythm of 2026 where you got technology, innovation at the highest peak ever, a lot of exciting things coming down the pipeline. You got to be able to pivot quickly, learn quickly. We don't have time to be like going through these emotional processes and can I do it? No, you got a massive action forward, learn, pivot. I love the way you use the word often. That just helps my nervous system. Portia, you say, we're experimenting. We're off to the next experiment. And that helps the nervous system, right? Because too often we think things have to be away. And we rob ourselves from taking action when we do that. But 2026 is not here for that. It's like, what you got? You got to put something down on the table. No ideas, no dreaming, no vision boards, no planning. All that planning is good. I love planning.
We do.
We gotta get up and we gotta put wings on it. Like I say, we gotta put wings on them. We gotta learn while we do. We gotta fly the plane while we're repairing it. Right? Is that type of energy I'm feeling for 2026 for sure.
Love, and I think it's so interesting that you said that because I feel like. I always say when we're talking about the next season of something, right? We're ending a chapter. We're going into another chapter. If y'all are familiar with numerology, right? 2025 is the year of the 9, the year of endings, 2026 being the year of the 1, the year of beginnings. When you're beginning something, you often don't know what it is that you're doing while you're doing it. And you are 100% correct. We got to fly these planes while we're on it. And there's a courage that comes along with that. I love so much what you said about being internally anchored. This year, hopefully gave you something to want to newly anchor into so that you can be in that action and that momentum. Anything else you're seeing, Dr. Minesha, in regards to kind of 2026 and how you want people to show up to that massive action?
Absolutely. I would say 1,000%. It's really moving into a beingness of confidence, trusting yourself. It's going to require you to have to trust yourself more than ever. Because when you're moving in a space of new beginnings and it's unknown, it feels a little mucky at first and you can't really see. So the only thing that you really have to lean into is that anchor. And so it's going to be more of a self-reliant than ever before. It's not going to be about that coach or your pastor or this person or your parents or all these other people that you've been leaning to before. No. You have the vision. It's on you. It's time for you to tap in. So you're going to have to put yourself in an environment. It's up for you to learn what type of environment that stimulates you. Learn yourself. When are you overstimulated? When do you need to pull back? When do you need to rest? What time? All those things is on you. Only you know that. So it's like putting you back in the driver's seat so that you can trust yourself, especially when it doesn't make sense. And I have some stories on that as of late, as I'm planning events and things like that. There's things that I'm hearing. I'll give you just one radical example. A couple of weeks ago, Holy Spirit said to me, this event that you just invested almost $10,000 in is not about profitability. It's about visitability. I was like, excuse me? What's really happening? No, that's not what this is about. And I literally, in that moment, as much as it stung, I had to trust myself, that I had to bring value without expecting anything in return in the most purest state you could be in. And it was like this image of, I don't know if you've seen it, it's pretty popular, where the little girl is holding this little bear and the big creator, God, universe, source, whatever you want to relate it to, has this big, gigantic like bear behind him, but she can't see it. And she's like, you want the bear? He's like, give me the bear. Not knowing that when you exchange it, I got this big old bear for you. You can't see yet, And so it's that type of trust, stepping in that level of trust that you got this.
Ooh. I love that. That's a great way to kick us off, Dr. Minesha. That's a fantastic way to kind of get us into this conversation. Renisha, I think I'll go to you next. Any reflections on how we go about cultivating that trust, right? And that safety, and kind of any reflections in general from anything that Dr. Minesha has said?
Yes. I love the energy. Dr. Minesha has this beautiful energy. Thank you so much for that, starting us off with that. Yes, I think very similarly, it really is, it's about all of that self-reflection and self-awareness, and really understanding where you yourself are at the current moment. So similar to what Dr. Minesha was saying, I really believe that shifting in this next year, shifting from time management to energy management is really going to be something that is going to be helpful for leaders. And it's something that, Portia, you've talked about before, is really recognizing where is your energy when you're doing certain tasks, and what are the things that give you energy, and where do you place those within your day, your week, your month. And so shifting from that time management, that rigid time management, to that energy management, and ensuring that, you're really looking at self-care as more community care. So yes, we want to care for ourselves, and so we can control what we're putting in our mouths, right? So what we're eating, that's something that we can control. But where can we draw the attention, where can we draw that energy and that safety from within our communities? And so I think those two things, like looking at our energy, restoring our nervous system, ensuring that you have those things that really help you rebuild your energy when it needs to be replenished. And then where is your community? Who are your people? Ensuring that you find your people and tap in with them. And I don't know if you want to come up with code words to say, when I text you this is what I mean. If I text you, hey, then you already know that I need you to check in with me to see how I'm doing. And so I do think that those are the things that I'm seeing.
Fantastic. And I think, okay, so I'm seeing kind of almost twofold of that, right? It's like being in massive action and doing the things that would allow you to be in an environment of massive action. I can kind of hear Renisha coming in if you actually want to cultivate a space of massive action, we got to cultivate trust. And if you're looking to cultivate trust, we got to cultivate energy management. We got to cultivate community care. Causha, I'm going to throw to you. Before you tell us what you got for the season, give us reflections on anything that you heard in what Dr. Minesha shared or what Renisha shared.
I completely agree. I mean, you see me over here just steadily shaking. Yeah, I think that this is it. I mean, I feel like folks have been in a season of shedding, of figuring out what has not worked for them, of settling into what is working for them, or what feels in alignment, we'll even say. And so everything that Dr. Minesha even started us off with is that it's like, you already know the answer, right? You've been asking all these years, you've been envisioning, you've been getting therapy, you've been doing all of the stuff. And for the moment that you have been preparing for, that moment is here. So now it's time to do, is what I hear Dr. Minesha saying, and I completely agree. And then what Renisha is saying to folks is that doing is clearly going to require something different of you. It's going to require you to trust yourself, even in ways that maybe you haven't allowed yourself to trust yourself before. And so, get some folks around you, know who is around you, who's going to help usher you into that trust and help hold you accountable to that as well, to the things that you say you're going to do for yourself, for your community, for your business. So yeah, and I couldn't agree more.
Like, we all on one accord. I'm in that same boat. The thing that was loud for me, Renisha, that you shared, that rattled my cage, was the environment piece. Because how often are we putting ourselves in environments that do not reinforce the ways of being that we actually need to be successful? If you know that trusting is something that you struggle with, and so you know you may need some additional support, what environment do you create around your life that reinforces trust? What are the environments that you have in your space that help you to cultivate a different relationship with trust? Who your people that you feel like, oh, these people out here walking on faith? How often are you around them? How often do you ask them about what the reality of holding that faith looks like? So many times we, will view almost like through the window, through the YouTube, to the wall, but to the YouTube, you know what I mean? It's like these little tiny mirrors, and we don't necessarily get in conversation about what the reality of holding that thing is like. As a person who's been on a journey through trust, really, I feel like solidly I'm gonna be on a journey through trust my whole life, because that's kind of who we are as human beings. But I've been actively trying to cultivate what that looks like in my business as an entrepreneur, coming from somebody who had a very 9-to-5 job, and the need for being able to ride the waves of instability have come with me realizing that you got a hole in your trust bucket, and that is what is keeping you from feeling the stability of this business. And so being in relationship with that over the past couple of years, it has mattered when I was surrounded by people who didn't trust nothing, didn't trust what they didn't see, and, didn't necessarily move in that way. It made it really difficult for me to see an example. And so I do think that there's something so powerful there about being in environments that reinforce who you want to be and the future that you know that you're calling in for yourself. Dr. Minesha, anything sparking in there in regards to kind of what Renisha mentioned around time management to energy management as an access to some of them?
Yes, absolutely. I've been saying for years that time management was a myth and just it was a glorified distraction. Let's just say that it was it was a glorified distraction. It was not the real issue at all. It almost felt like a cop out or a scapegoat to what was really going on, right? Because time is relative, right? That's why you can have certain experiences and time go by so fast. Usually pleasurable experiences, and vice versa. And so at the end of the day, it's really about when Renisha said about the energy management. I really think that and I say this in the most easiest illustration, is that the most effective way to preserve your energy is to be you. If you imagine, right, if you're going to a store and you're like running full speed like a track star to the store, you're going to be tired. You're going to be overworked. You're going to feel exhausted. But if you're just walking regular like you normally would do, maybe talking on the phone with a friend while you're on your way to the store, you're still getting to the same destination, but there's joy with it. There's pleasure with it. You're being you, same destination, right? And so I think energetically, we're doing all of these things that are outside of our authentic beingness, because we've seen someone else do it. That's how their success path. But just honoring how we're created and making sure that you keep yourself as closest to your authentic version of yourself, like to the point where it's like a gauge, like, no, that's not me. That don't feel right. That's off. Even to the point, there was a client of mine, she was like, she had enough of the preach about pain and pleasure talk for sales. But at the end of her day, she's like, I don't feel comfortable. My clients are trying to go from good to great. They're not going from bad to good. And so you need to have a goal-oriented conversation with them. It's a different, you're not trying to pull pain that they don't have. It's different. And it felt misaligned for her. And that took her to a whole nother level of increase, because she tapped into, instead of saying, no, you're being rebellious, you're being stubborn, follow the fault. No, she leaned into what was her, and it opened up a whole gold mine of opportunity. That's what I'm talking about with that energy management. Stay aligned to what feels natural for you.
Can I just really quick, can I jump in right here?
Yes.
Because Dr. Minesha, that example you gave was so simple but so poignant. And I need people to hear that because when you run to something, let's take your example to a store, right? Not only are you exhausted when you get there, but your level of focus is different. You go in, you want to get what you want to get, and you want to get out, which is what happens. But when you take your time, sometimes you get in the store, you mosey about, you say hi to the people you wouldn't have normally said, right? You're much more
Present.
available for things. Yes, much more present because you didn't use all of your energy to get there. And I think what we
Mm.
see, that so many people are using so much energy to get there that then they get where they wanted to go all these years and they don't have any energy, anything left.
So good. So good. So
That's a
good.
word. That's a word. And something that was so loud to me as you both were saying this is like, there is nothing more exhausting than trying to be somebody that you're not. And I think that why most of us are so burnt out in business is because you're trying to be something that you're not. And you're running full fucking speed at something that you're not. It's like you're set up to fail. And to Cachet's point, oh, that was so poignant. How many of us believe that we are what's wrong because
Yeah,
we're exhausted?
absolutely.
And the thing is, like, you may be able to get some of that energy that Renisha was talking about of the energy management. You may be able to get some of that energy back to show up to what's on your calendar if you were being more radically and authentically yourself. If you were releasing the things that were not actually, what you thought you were supposed to do versus what is yours to do. And doing it in a way where you've got the trust and the of knowing that if I stand in who I am and I do things that are strategically aligned with what I'm meant to do, provision will come for me. I don't have to run to the store. I can walk. Nothing's going to fall because I moseyed and I talked to the person. I actually make it a blessing that I didn't even know that I could because I was so present in me and what I do,
Absolutely.
not
95%
running
of the
somebody else's
time.
story. That,
That's
right?
right.
This is, it also sounds so loud that this is a year to stop that shit. Like this is, and I get it. I get why we did it before. Sometimes you need to crawl before you walk, but this year is here. Put it down. Put it down. And if you are unsure about how, come have a conversation with one of us. We will absolutely walk you towards, girl, give that up. You don't need to do that. Put it down. Put it down. Put it down.
Too
You know
heavy.
what I mean? If this ain't the Substack year, stop doing it. If you don't need paid marketing, don't do it. If it ain't works, put it down. Like, if you need somebody externally to be able to give that to you, do it. And I think, Renisha, I'm actually going to come back to you with reflections here. I think that the point that you made around managing your energy over managing your time is one way that you will know when you're in alignment and when you're not, right? Because when I go look at what you do over the week, I can tell you whose business you're running, if it's yours and if it's not. I can tell you. You know what I mean? Like, and if you're exhausted, Renisha, as our resident burnout specialist, if you are exhausted and on a constant state of burnout, maybe look here as one of those access points around, right? It may not just be that you need rest. It may need to be that you need to stop doing things that are draining. And I think that is a part of it. Renisha, any reflections from you or any last things that you wanted to mention in regards to 2026 that you see that may be helping out this landscape?
Yes. So I love what each of you was saying and really talking about having that availability to be open to experiences and opportunities to come your way when you are showing up present. And I do think it just requires that mirror, right? Like you have to look in the mirror at yourself and say, okay, what am I doing? Like, who am I? What are the parts of me that I have been shoving to the back or in denial of, right? And so I know for myself, I had that experience where I had to pause posting on social media for just a period of time to be fully present in what I was doing. Like I was still capturing, some footage and whatnot, but the posting was draining me in a way that felt like it was spilling into other parts, right? And so I had to trust what Dr. Minesha said. I had to trust that what was meant for me would not pass me, no matter what, right? And so I really love, all of this whole conversation. The one thing that I will just close with is as we continue to, move forward in our businesses and really connecting in with people who can support us in those businesses, there's a cliche of, don't pour from an empty cup, and I really think that we have to look at it differently, and that our cups, maybe when we're feeling drained, it's not that our cups are empty, it's overfilled with the things that it doesn't need to be overfilled with.
Ooh, ooh,
so
ooh.
what do we need to release so that our cup can be poured from, or so that we can, because we can't just keep adding things, right? We want to shift our rituals, and we want to add our self-care rituals, but we can't just keep adding, because then that feels overwhelming too. And so what are the things that we have to release this season, because the cup is already overflowing, but it's not overflowing in the best way. So that's the thing that I wanted to add.
That's come on. Minesha, take it.
Yes, just because I just recently had a conversation with my therapist, actually, concerning this.
Therapist.
And one of the things that I realized, because it was a great conversation about this cup, because we use it as an analogy often, and I love the way Renisha said, if you're filling it with those right things, right? So I'm thinking about herbs, the things that's good for your body, right? The things that the more you begin to drink the things that are good for you, that's bringing minerals, nutrients, and vitamins to your body, right? Then what happens is you don't need a cup. You are the cup. And so if my therapist said that, he was like, I'm thinking about cup being full with the things. It's like, but what if you are the cup, the vessel? And so it's about pouring in and nurturing yourself in such a way that you no longer need to sip from the cup, that you become the vessel that people begin to partake. That's the optimal level of servant leadership, Wow.
But interestingly enough, though, you just said a word around that, though, because if we take your analogy one step further, and you are the vessel, it becomes all the more important that you don't put bullshit in that vessel. Because you know what I do know? When you start taking your herbs and you start eating right, I can tell you from my own personal experience, this year I've been on a plant-based journey. I'm taking my plant-based, I'm having more vegetables, I'm reducing processed foods, but then I want to go have a burger. And then I'm fucked up for days, because the vessel has now said, this is not congruent with the vessel. It was no longer something that I can hold in. I think, to Renisha's point, a lot of y'all are overwhelmed because what's in the cup not only isn't yours, but it's not serving you. And the energetics of this year are going to give you so much momentum towards releasing the thing that is not serving. And really, I think that oftentimes when we release something, we feel like it's one and done. I don't ever have to look at it again. I'm going to want the burger every third Wednesday, because I had 37 years of the burger. You know what I mean? So when I show up, you know what I mean?
That's real.
That kind of behavior, you're going to have to remind yourself. I love that piece that I'm bringing back in, that piece around internally anchored, Dr. Minesha, to what Renisha said. You're going to have to keep reminding yourself. And I really want everybody who can hear me at the end of this voice to put together a practice monthly of what it is that you're releasing and why, so you remember your nose. Otherwise, it'll keep ending up in the cup. That's what I heard, kind of what you said, Renisha. It's like, there's so many things that we have in there that don't belong in there, but we have a hard groove, and we're wired to keep doing those things because we've been doing them for a long time. When we're at the beginning of starting a new story, it's not at the place yet where, we're at the place where we're putting a seed in the ground. You don't harvest the seed the day that the seed goes in the ground. When you're starting a brand new behavior, a brand new ways of being, brand new thought processes, you got to make sure that you know what your bumpers are. Right? It's gotta, something that's gonna help to keep your cup and your vessel pure is saying no to what doesn't go in there, and having a practice of constantly allowing yourself to be reminded of, oh yeah, this is also going on my no list. Oh yeah, I don't like how that feels in my body. Add it to the no list. That's draining my energy, not adding my energy. Add it to the no list. I love that you said that there. Causha, I'm gonna pop to you. Any reflections on that conversation, and then you can enter us into what you're seeing for the year.
And I'm going to do that. I'm going to combine, because I think, first of all, everything that both you, Renisha, and Dr. Minesha are saying, I just love. It's so many. I'm like, boy, I'm getting a sermon out of this. I'm like,
this how these be going. We be having pages of notes at the end.
I'm over here taking notes. I'm like, yep, this is what I'm putting in my next thing. Okay. And so the first thing I want to say is speaking to the Renisha, what you said about you need to be in the mirror, right? Or you need to be. And so I think that is huge because what came up for me in that is accountability. And then what I heard for folks is what are you holding or who are you holding on to so that you don't have to hold on to yourself? You don't have to hold on to your own stuff. Because this is the accountability piece. What happens so often is we say, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, I'm the leader, I got all the answers. And then you got answers for everybody but yourself. And oftentimes we are holding on to those clients, we are holding on to those friends, we are holding on to those people that we want to help so that we don't have to tell ourselves that we don't have to do that. Right. And my therapist said, I also got a word in therapy, Dr. Minesha. It wasn't as eloquent. My therapist just told me one day, one session a couple years ago, Causha, you know that there's no prize for taking the most shit. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Wait, there isn't? Wait. Because I think we've told ourselves, and let's get real for a minute, particularly as Black people, BIPOC people, people who are born AFAB, assigned female at birth, or socialized as girls and women. We won't even get into if you're you have first child, first daughter syndrome, like those type. All of those things play into, which is why that soul work that Portia's talking about has to come first. You cannot be in right relationship with yourself, with your clients, with your people in leadership if you are not do not do your soul work. And so for me, what I'm seeing is all of these things, and what is a part of that is grounding. Folks need to ground in themselves, in their communities, and reground in their business. That is something I have also been called to this year and going into next year. And then furthermore, what is the fear that people are still holding on to that is keeping them from that work, that is keeping them from getting in the mirror or having a mirror reflect back onto them? This is something that I have been isolated in many respects for much of my life because I am a natural mirror. I don't know how to not be. I think that the biggest thing for me has been that figuring out like, okay, what messages do these people need and not need, right? Because not everybody needs it at the same time. So I think for people to really sit with themselves about what is keeping them from the next step, what is keeping them from shedding, what is keeping them from regrounding, what is keeping them from releasing the things in their cup that do not belong to them. And what this also makes me think of is something I've been talking deeply about the last few weeks, and that is I believe I have a definition of vulnerability. And because of that, it has allowed me to live my life in a way where I don't really know how to live not me. So that has saved me from a lot. I mean, it's exhausting enough being me. I don't know how people, And so I think that in the piece really quick, and then I'll wrap up, is get naked in the mirror. And I know that this is going to sound foreign to a lot of people, but to me, there is no true nakedness until there is a comfortability with physical nakedness. If you cannot look in the mirror, okay. If you
you done said a word. You done said a word.
Now, this is something I've been saying. I had a sermon on this when I was 19 years old in Mobile, Alabama. I've never preached again, but I did a sermon on this where I know people was like, this 19-year-old telling people to get naked, but the reality is, one, I've been a naturist my whole life, and I think it's because I didn't associate it when I was young, but now I do there is a purity when you can sit with yourself, see all that needs to be shifted, and then commit to those shifts yourself. When you are able to do that fully naked in the mirror, your life changes. Because then you're not afraid to let others see those nakedness parts of you, right? And when you're not afraid to do that, you're also not afraid to step into those things that Dr. Minesha, that Renisha was talking about in regards to trust, right? Because trust begins with yourself. And until you can do that, so that is my call to action for people in 2026 is get naked with yourself in the mirror so that then you can get naked with the world. Okay. And if you want to know how to do that so that you don't get in trouble, you just come on here. I'll explain it even more in depth. Okay. We don't want you out on the 405 or wherever, just messed up. 285 if you're in Atlanta, all those things. We don't want you messed up. But it really, and I've been diving in deep into that the last few weeks, because I think people have been so scared away from just being bare with themselves and one another. Speaking of that community care, that they just went into the doing. So if you're trying to be in this space of being that Dr. Minesha and Renisha are talking about, that means you need to be with yourself first.
The Osumaré Learning Podcast is brought to you by two sponsors that are near and dear to our hearts, because we built them. First up, Business Cousins. Business Cousins is a collective of called to serve leaders who are building businesses that create impact that actually matters. We're about doing real good in the world, giving people the results they paid for, and having a damn good time doing it. If you're into running a business that you actually love, hanging out with smart and soulful folks while you do it, and being supported every step of the way, this may be the room for you. We host gatherings, workshops, and offer ongoing business development support that's as human as it is helpful. If you're interested, apply today at thebusinesscousin.com. Check us out at www.thebusinesscousin.com. And then there's the Author's Leverage. That's our studio for turning your body of work into powerful learning tools. Whether it's digital workbooks, private podcasts, or binge-worthy education content that helps you scale your impact without burning out, we specialize in transforming complex ideas into accessible, engaging learning experiences that your audience will actually use and implement. Our team of expert creators, instructional designers, and production specialists ensure that your wisdom reaches more people in the ways that truly resonate. If you're an expert, author, thought leader, sitting on brilliance, let us help you package it. Learn more at theauthorsleverage.com. That is theauthorsleverage.com. So much potency. There's what comes to me immediately in that conversation is how easy it is to run from that, because it is uncomfortable. So much of the conversation in the Soul Work podcast, when we were recording that, was all about that this is a year, seeds are birthed in darkness. This is going to be a year of getting comfortable going into the dark and getting comfortable being naked with yourself. And I think that the idea of being naked, quote unquote, with others and out in the world is that idea of what the real is of radical authenticity. Be authentic, be yourself. That's cute when you like you. It's a little different when you don't, right? It's a little different when things don't feel as solidified. It's a little different when you're not performing. Ooh, what would happen if you stopped performing in your business and actually showed up to it? Ooh, what would happen if you stopped performing contribution and actually contributed as the nature and the beauty of your actual whole ass real self? But no one gets there without being comfortable being naked first. I love that. Dr. Minesha, I'll go to you next. Reflections on what Causha mentioned.
There is just so many angles to speak on. That was just like, I call them mental orgasms. My friend covered their ears. It's just like, oh my gosh, man. So good, right? I mean, where do you start? There was just back-to-back nuggets on just, and I love the practicality, I love, just the visual of being naked. I personally had an experience in the mirror that brought tears to me, to where the scale no longer is a threat to me anymore. I never thought I could ever get to that point. And it is a true awakening of mind, body, and spirit in a way that is unmatched. And I can truly say that me, myself, out of all things, I can attest this to Jennifer Bond. I'm a huge fan. She's in The Business Cousin. And I was faithfully going one season every Monday. I'm getting my rhythm back together, so I'm back in position in January. But she truly has a gift. And if you're listening to this, if you're not a part of The Business Cousins, just hands down going to that on top of all the other incredible experts, right?
Hey, Jennifer's Come Home to Your Body session.
Come home to your body. Come home to your body. And I'm getting chills now even explaining this, because what I realize as a leader is that it's the most underused, our vessel is the most underused but most powerful tool for success and clarity and everything that we desire starts right there in our body. Even when she said the first decision you make it in your body. And it's so true, just instinctively. It's your body. But how often do we overlook it? We don't feed it. We don't give it water. We keep pushing it. It's neglect. It's literally abusive. If we were to do this to a child or any other human being, we would call DCF on them. But we do it to ourselves daily for years, and then talk about our body. And it's the most loyal aspect of ourselves that shows up every day, no matter what. And when I really started to think about the relationship with my body as an actual relationship, I began to tear up how awful, I had behaved. And so behavior is a insight. How you behave is an insight to what you believe about your identity. Right. And that's why I feel like when I was listening to Portia, it was like so key to identity. Like, if you can't look at yourself in the mirror and be okay with yourself, how in the world can you go out and help anyone else? And you talked also about fear. And I love that. And I really do believe that fear, the baseline of it, comes back to what you were originally saying, Portia, about self-love.
Oh, wait.
And
we done got
fearless.
now Causha and Portia don't become the same person. That's hilarious.
Oh, sorry.
That's hilarious.
Causha,
Just so you know, we become two cousins. Now we all the same person.
Identity. We got to get the identity right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's truly is, and I love the way the conversation has just evolved in essence, like almost like a playbook, because it really is the recipe as we're kind of talking through this. Nakedness. In order to be naked, now you got to move through identity, and being open to do that, like you said, starting off with trusting yourself. And like Renisha came in, with the energy and what that looks like. And this is the journey. And the one thing that I just have to say going into 2020, that was the biggest aha for this year, is that when you're dealing with self-identity and you're facing fears, you got to do it in a place of self-compassion. It's like when we really look at how we've treated our body for so long and how we don't take crap for ourselves, we just got to just chill and just treat yourself with care, honor, love, and don't judge yourself. So I'm not an advocate of the negative feelings and the what's coming up. No, it's coming up. I'm not going to label it negative. It's here. I felt that. Talk to me. What part of you felt that way? Why do you feel that way? I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to shame it. I'm not going to do any of that. And I'm having these moments often with different parts of myself that's showing up. And why is that? And I'm telling you, just because you don't know the reason in the moment doesn't mean there's not a reason. If you are not wanting to get up and make that social media post, that's not you being stubborn. That's not you being stubborn. We are designed to be in alignment. Listen, tune in, talk to me. Why is that? There is a huge strategy that was catered just for you that will make life pleasurable if you would just listen. We turn off ourselves so much. And for 2026, I'm so excited about us finally silencing the noise of everyone else and just listening and honoring our inner self and not judging it and really just saying, okay, so you don't like that. Why don't you like that? What about that don't you like? Okay, what if we did it like this? And allow that to be a place of curiosity, to explore, to shift, to pivot, and move it to something you do like. Right? And doing that across all areas of your life. Like I started this coaching program for health and nutrition and they were saying I need to work out for 45 minutes. I'm like, nah, not for me. It doesn't work with my flow, right? I'm still about health. I'm all about that, but I'm about quick stuff, and Pilates is my soulmate workout. It works for me. The way my body, my gosh, I just love it. And I'm going to be consistent, right? Because I love it. And it's like, we can do that. We get to decide. We are in the driver's seat. That's the great news, So listen, I'm so full. I really, really appreciate everything that you shared. It's powerful.
Ooh, and it is. Renisha, I'll go to you next. Any reflections for either Causha's nakedness and or Minesha's self-compassion? Naked self-compassion.
You like the nakedness. I like it. I think that, what both of you are sharing is just really powerful. Stripping yourself down to see like how can you be comfortable with you, and then having that self-compassion to not judge yourself for all of the things that come up. And Dr. Minesha said, she talked about the negative feelings, and I tell people, let's reframe negative feelings to uncomfortable. Like, we have comfortable feelings and uncomfortable feelings, right? So being able to identify those uncomfortable feelings, and where does it feel uncomfortable? Is it in your body? Like, where is it in your body? And really trying to figure out, why is it that I feel this way? But sometimes we don't slow down long enough to really address that, or really see ourselves for who we are in the moment, because it can be moment by moment. And I think that reframing, like having a constant reframing of that narrative that we already had. I am this. I met someone that said, I'm a passive aggressive communicator. And I was like,
interesting identity to own. Interesting.
So, but we all have that thing that we say, I am this, I do this, I don't do that, right? And so how can we reframe that and start a new narrative and know that it's okay to practice something new? We did talk about how when you have that new thing that you're trying to learn, that new way of being that you want, you want to not have as many hamburgers because you know how it's going to make you feel. And our bodies just naturally want to do what's comfortable, what we've always done. And that's part of our nervous system caring for us. Your nervous system is like, well, this is the comfortable place that we like, right? And so you have to create that new neural pathways. Your brain wants to do whatever you want it to do. And so I think I'll leave, or I'll close with just talking really quickly about what confirmation bias is. And so confirmation bias is if you are consistently looking for that negative thing, that, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're like, everyone's always mean to me. We'll just take it back to elementary school. Everyone's always mean to me. The thing that your brain will see is everyone being mean to you. Like, your brain doesn't know to see anything else, because you're like, this is what you're saying that you want to see. And so if you say, I am successful in all the things that I do, or, you have these positive things that you start to look for, your brain will show you all the ways. So whether it's through your gratitude, like, I have wonderful things to be grateful for all the time. And your brain says, oh yes, let's show you all the things to be grateful for. And it's like when you get a new car, if it's red, what do you see? A red car everywhere you look, right? And so your brain is wired to show you those things that have just come into your sight. And so the more we can bring those positive things, our self-compassion and positive self-talk, right? The more we can do that, the more your brain will show you those avenues that carve that same path. So that's what I will say. Let's keep ourselves let's keep our brains happy by showing it the things that we want to see, because then it will show it back to us.
And it just took me in a spiral around that conversation of what comes to me immediately. And then I'll go into what I'm seeing, and we'll wrap us down for this session. What comes to me immediately is how comfortable it is to feel like you're a failure, and how often we are so, it feels bad, but it's the bad we know. So it's easier for me to make myself wrong for what I try for than to have the courage to do something new, to try a new story. And how imperative it's going to be in a year of new beginnings to radically, and I mean with fervor, with gusto, with energy, radically fall in love with the journey you've had and make it right. Make it right everything that didn't work out. Make it right everything that did. Make it right who you are right now. Falling in love with yourself feels like a buzzword. But if you can't be comfortable with the person who you naked in the mirror in front of, and you can't make it right and make it okay that every curve, dot, dimple is there. If you can't make it okay and wonderful that you are wonderfully made, it's going to be incredibly difficult to create a new reality for yourself. It's hard to have self-compassion when you've got that. Say it again for me, Renisha, because you know I'm going to mess up the definition. What is the word? Confirmation bias. Thank you. We love a good lip read. Confirmation bias. If you've got your confirmation bias that you are inherently a problem, you will always be inherently a problem. And if that's in your business, then that's why it's not working. This needs to be the year that you break up with that you're the problem. And we start looking at, well, what were the circumstances and who did it make me? Ooh, that crazy thing that I went through that made me feel like a failure, who did it turn me into? And what did it make available in my life now that I have lived through that? How am I better? How did I learn? What did it prepare me for? If everything in the universe is working out for me, then that thing that was incredibly uncomfortable or painful for me to go through must also be working out for me. How can I frame my narrative around seeing, literally, relentlessly seeing how the universe is working out for me versus relentlessly seeing how I'm a victim to my circumstance? That is a stance to take in a business. And it will shift how everything else in the business is oriented, because leadership is the default. It is the root. It is what is. If soul work is the soil, leadership is the first roots that you put down. And if the roots are rotten, everything else is going to struggle. And if your default setting is that you're a problem, start there. Don't listen to shit else we said. I need you just to do that. Do that right there first. Like, make your beingness stop being a problem for you. Relating to yourself like a problem to solve rather than a journey to be discovered is something that is going to hinder you in your business growth. Full stop. I love you. I'll hold your hand when I say this, but we gotta put it down. Let that also be something that sheds, and that's a part of your old story and not your new story. The things that are allowed for me to kind of speak to, I think, interestingly enough, help to frame what everything else has been said. I kind of want us to look at how we make space to do these things, and then what it is that we're making the space for. The thing I really want people to be thinking about in 2026, simplify, simplify, simplify. One of the things that came out on the Soul Work podcast was to go where you know the honey is, right? Go where the honey is. The things that are working, do more of those things. The things that are not working, be more willing to release them, because I need you to have more spacious timelines in 2026. I need you not to have a 90-day launch. I need you to make it a 6-month launch or a 4-month launch or a 5-month launch. Why? Because when you're doing something new, we need time to learn and we need time to integrate. The truth is, the landscape in the market is volatile. That's just what's so. Now, people make a lot of money in volatile markets. So it ain't saying that it's broke. I said it's volatile. And the truth is, when you're navigating in something that is just has more unknown than other years, you've got to be more willing to build the plane while you're on it. But that means you need more time to actually get closer to the information so that you actually can make pivots and decisions that are aligned with what your community is going through. And if the community is changing every 3 to 6 months, because life is lifing and the world is breaking down in so many ways, a lot of empire focused things are breaking down. So folks are having to get more creative about how they're resourcing themselves. It's going to require you to have more time. So I want you to have more time on your calendar, which means I need you to take shit off your calendar. I need you to look at the calendar and remove things right now, so that you can put you back on the calendar. You deserve your own time. Particularly contribution-focused leaders, I cannot tell you enough the difference, and like Causha said, the difference that it will make when you become a person who is in love with your nakedness versus a person who is not. It will change your life to become a person who gives yourself your own time and a person who does not. When you're the last thing that you schedule, your business looks like it. And the truth is, this is going to be a year that actually requires a little bit more leadership, requires more experimentation, requires more, testing and things of that nature. You won't do it if you don't have enough time to do it, and you won't have enough time if you keep doing it the way you've been doing it. And luckily, the way that we've been doing it is when I have time left, I'll think about the business. At the moment, I'm just going to fulfill in the business. That ain't going to work, Bookie, but 2026 ain't the year for that. It just ain't. That's not the year for that. The other thing that was really loud for me is to really be relentless about, when you've got the time on your calendar, checking who you're being while you're doing what you're doing. Because the way of being that you've been for the last 9 years will likely be inefficient next year, and you're gonna really see it. Like, y'all can call me the prophetess if you want to. Come back to here, and I promise you're gonna say it, and you're gonna find yourself in front of your computer and be like, "That's what the fuck she was meaning." I used to be able to go about this way, and now for some reason that's gonna feel inefficient because the universe, spirit, source, whatever energy you relate to, the energy that created you, is going to be asking us to write a new story. So the old things will become less and less relevant. Make it okay that that's happening. Don't make it wrong. You're not broken. You are learning. So let's be a part of actually getting clear on what that looks like. Lastly, the last thing that I want to say here is that the overarching question I want you to be asking yourself relentlessly all year long really comes down to like two overarching questions. One, how do I want my business to feel? How do I want my business to feel? How do I want my life to feel is my forever question. But how do I want my business to actually feel? And I'm going to get curious all year long about how spirit is going to show me how good it can get. How good can it get? How good can it get? What does good actually look like to you, and how do I want it to feel? And then that follow-up question, who do I need to be to get it there? Ask, how do I want my business to feel? And then who do I need to be about it? Then it'll make it much easier what you need to do about it, because it's got to start with who you're going to be about it. If I want my business to feel abundant and resourced and connected and fun, then who do I need to be that attracts abundant, connected, resourced, and fun? What does my time need to look like that is aligned with abundant, connected, and resourced, and fun? What actions do I take that are aligned with that? What communities or environments can I create that allow me to cultivate that within myself and without and outside of myself? What ways do my contribution need to shift if fun is a part of my business and it wasn't in my business model before, right? Giving yourself permission to really keep asking that question over and over and over again until you get to the first realm of an answer that lets you kind of get your next way of being aligned. And then we'll keep asking. Honestly, over this entire next decade, as a human population, we're going to be asking ourselves, can it get better than this? We know it can get better than this. We know we can have more. What would it look like to reimagine what more wants to be? Be a part of that revolution. Don't be stuck in the past. Be a part of what the future wants to look like. So those are the things that I am seeing for 2026. As we round us out, those are my last kind of things, nuggets to leave you with. As we round us out and we tie down this podcast, I would love to go to each of you all with like final words for the people as they go into the year, a final couple sentences to round it out. And I think I will go, Dr. Minesha, I'm gonna go to you first. You always be so ready. And I love your energy. You have the start energy.
I'm just going to get real practical. Since this is the
Fantastic.
end, this is the part where people are ready to just like put it into action. So I thought about when you were talking about when I was a kid. I love just going back to childhood because it just unlocks that inner play. And remember we used to do these activities where it was like person, place, or thing. In school, they would tell you that's how you learn the nouns and all different things, right? And so you talk so much about identity. It's really what you were talking about. Who are you being? And so the biggest antidote, if you all want to accelerate this, because we got a few days, few weeks, whenever y'all listening to this until we really thrust into the new year, there is a hack to this thing, right? And it is embodiment. So essentially, if you just take your piece of paper and you go person, place, or thing, and really just, like Renisha said, ask your brain's going to just leave a whole bunch of space and answers for you. What kind of person are you being? Just put it all out there, right? What kind of places does this person go? All things out there. What kind of things does this person have? This person doesn't have regular coffee. They have Starbucks coffee. This person doesn't get in a dirty car. This person drives a clean car that's cleaned out every week. What that is, right? This is your new identity. Person, place, or thing. Commit to that new identity and embody it. Like me, this podcast that I have, my person, when I vision, she has it. She gets up in the morning, she's looking at her bank accounts. She's looking at her numbers in her studio. So I rearranged my whole house and I'm like, I'm creating a studio in here. And I advocated for my future self and I purchased and invested in things. And so now I got me a tea station because why? That is the environment. I love my tea. I'm creating this embodiment of the experience, right? For some people, you may need to go to a car lot, once a month and ride the car that you want. You may not have it now. That's fine. For me, it's like, look, I'm going to make sure I got 6 kids. I got to make sure I vacuum my car out every week. No, I'm not riding in the dirty car. No, you see, sorry guys, I digress. But you got to get this type of relentless. When I say massive action, I'm not just talking about doing work, y'all. Like, I want you to really leave with knowing that I'm talking about showing up for your being. Show up for yourself. Advocate. Enough is enough. Default self stays in 2025. We're not taking a lot with us. We're moving into 2026 with massive action, supporting who we are becoming today, now. The power of now is here now.
I love it. I love it. Again, this is why you start, Dr. Minesha. Put it on us. We love to see it. We'd love to see it. Causha, I'm going to go to you next, and then we'll go to Renisha, and then we'll follow it out.
All right. Well, I heard some things, too, that I want to wrap up on, and that is, and mostly what you were saying around the stuff that you were saying. But also, Dr. Minesha, you just said something. The things that you lined up, there's a word for that. It's called rituals. And through all of the colonization and the hustle mentality and capitalism and all of those things, we have forgotten that rituals are there for us, right? Yeah. And I used to be an incredibly ritualistic person. I think I'm coming back around to it, but I was people made fun of me, like, why do you need your keys to be in a certain place? Why do you need this to be in a certain place? And I would tell people, because that is what allows me in the morning to show up and to process things, to show up, to be present, to not feel like, am I missing something all day? Am I looking for everything has its place and is in order. And now my ritualism has moved to things like altar work and making sure that things are cleaning, right? We grew up in houses where every Sunday, right, you knew the pine saw smell, and we made fun of those things, but those were rituals, unbeknownst sometimes to our elders, that allowed them to have that energy management that Renisha was talking about earlier. So thinking about rituals in your life. And then another thing that I'll close with, Portia, that you said is simplify, simplify, simplify. And this thing of feeling like a failure, the phrase that came to me is survivor's remorse. How many of us in leadership positions are living in survivor's remorse instead of survivors, acceptance, or being victorious? And I have this thing written here for survivor's remorse where I said one of those things we may need to learn how to leave, what Renisha was talking about for your cup, is learn to leave people where they are, because sometimes that's what it takes to be able to continue filling your cup with the things that you need. So the sitting with yourself, the naked, all of those things, I know they sound funny. They are fun. My embodiment, look, I'm here, I'm dressed, but my outfit is holiday pajamas, because
we love to
like
see it.
Being dressed, right? So being me. So I think, all of those things, we have to have people in places where we want to go, not just where we have been. And oftentimes when we are leaving that, when we've grown past that, we feel that remorse. And I want people to be more compassionate with themselves about that and recognize that they have been called into something greater and have no fear walking into that.
It's good. It's good. And a word was said. Renisha, take us down. Last reflections on this call and last words you want to leave with the people for 2026?
Yes, y'all are pouring in today.
It's gonna get hot. It's cold outside in Vegas.
The last thing that I will close with is that we don't have to rush to our own becoming, because we are becoming. Right? There's some transformation that's happening each time you tap into your own rituals. Each time you are reconnecting to yourself, there's some transformation happening, and we don't have to rush that. And if we really just lean into our own healing and allow that to be the source, it will just, other people will see that, and it uplifts everyone around us. And so that's the one thing that I will say is, when we lay down all of these things and we do it for ourselves and our own well-being, it automatically has a ripple effect to everyone around us. So yes, that's what I will say.
When I tell you you can't rush your own becoming, could be a podcast by itself. Just go ahead and run it. You can't rush your own becoming. That would go into the last thing that I will say is you can't fuck it up. You came here in this life at some point and planned every little trip and fall that you consider yourself as a failure or didn't do, or people you left at X, Y, and Z. Commit to the journey. Commit to the journey of you. All of the parts of it are beautiful. Even the parts that are uncomfortable, they're still making you who you are and still giving you what you're meant to do here. You can't fuck it up. Truthfully, you can make it go slower or faster, but there really, to Renisha's point, is no rush in you becoming who you are. Is that not worth it? Is it not worth it to savor the process of becoming everything you've always wanted to be? Can't you, put it in your mouth like a Werther's original and let it be delicious, right? That's a state, right? You could do that. You could suffer, or you could savor, and the choice is yours, because it's going to take as long as it takes either way. To the beginning of this conversation, you could run to the store, or you can go and enjoy your time. And I want 2026 to be a year that you all enjoy. It is fun to experiment and be in the new and be in the creation if you allow it to be. You could choose that it's terrifying and that it's terrible and that you're going to suffer through it, or you can choose to savor the journey. And I am a stand that you choose to savor, because if you're listening to my voice, I know you're in it for the long haul. And whatever the journey ends up looking like, please don't forget to enjoy it. Do not forget to enjoy it. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Renisha O'Donnell. Thank you, Causha A Spellman-Timmons. Thank you, Dr. Minesha Carter. Make sure I got what's your last name, Dr. Minesha?
Carter Ruffin. I have two last names.
Okay.
Carter
I was
Ruffin.
like, I'm missing a hyphen. Thank you, Dr. Minesha Carter Ruffin. Thank you for listening, listeners who are listening to this podcast. Thank you so much for being interested in this conversation and taking on your leadership in this year. You can do it. We believe in you, and we are here for you. If you need to come ask us, girl, all that sounds great, but how I do it in my life, we're available. We be on the call multiple times per month, ready to support you in what it is that you got going on. Don't do it alone, and don't do it suffering. We love you so much. Have a wonderful 2026 and beyond, and we will see you soon.
Bye for now.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and consider what was shared today. Thanks to our guests for sharing. Thank you to Portia for holding us in this container. And thank you for listening. We hope that something that was shared today sparks a new idea, inspires a new action, or creates something that you're excited to share with your community.
And thanks to Portia for leading this wonderful conversation and for bringing the vibe. Make sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and hit us up on LinkedIn or Instagram. We want to hear what this sparks for you. So do us a favor, drop a review or leave a comment with what you thought.
All right, friends. We will see you next time on the Osumaré Learning Podcast. I'm already looking forward to it.
Me too.